They were some of the biggest music stars in the world. And then, suddenly, it all ended. Here are the most shocking music star deaths ever. And we start right now with number 1. Michael Jackson was one of the most famous artists in human history. For many, he wasn't just a pop star, he was pop music. Even in 2009, decades after his rise, the world still watched his every move. So when everything suddenly stopped, it felt unreal. Not because he was gone from the spotlight, but because no one expected the end to come that way. At the time, Jackson was preparing for a massive comeback. The This Is It tour was meant to bring him back on stage in front of millions, proving that the king of pop was still alive, still powerful. Behind closed doors, though, things were very different. For years, Michael Jackson had suffered from extreme insomnia. Sleep became an obsession, something he couldn't reach naturally anymore. To cope, he relied on a personal physician, Dr. Conrad Murray, whose job was to make sure Michael could rest before rehearsals. But what Murray was giving him wasn't a sleeping pill. It was propofol, a powerful anesthetic normally used in operating rooms to put patients into deep unconsciousness during surgery. Jackson called it milk because of its white color. Night after night, Michael Jackson was essentially being anesthetized in his own bedroom. On June 25, 2009, after receiving propofol and other sedatives, Murray left Jackson alone to make phone calls. When he returned, Michael Jackson wasn't breathing. CPR was attempted, emergency services were called. Jackson was rushed to UCLA Medical Center. Doctors worked for over an hour trying to revive him. But it was too late. Michael Jackson was pronounced dead at 2:26 p.m., the result of acute propofol intoxication. The news spread instantly. Websites crashed, social media froze. The world collectively stopped. Later, Dr. Conrad Murray was convicted of involuntary manslaughter, found responsible for administering a surgical anesthetic in a home setting without proper monitoring, without safeguards. Michael Jackson didn't die on stage. He died alone, in silence, in a bedroom. A victim of desperation, medical negligence, and a body that had been pushed too far for too long.
Aaliyah was only 22 years old. Her career was exploding and Hollywood was opening its doors. In August 2001, she was in the Bahamas filming the music video for Rock the Boat. The shoot was finished. Everyone wanted to leave the island the same day. Instead of waiting for a larger aircraft, a small twin-engine Cessna 402B was chartered. It wasn't designed to carry that many people or that much equipment. On August 25, 2001, Aaliyah boarded the plane with 8 other people at Marsh Harbor Airport. The aircraft was heavily overloaded, carrying roughly 700 pounds more than its maximum capacity. The pilot, Luis Morales, wasn't properly certified to fly that plane. Toxicology tests later showed cocaine and alcohol in his system. Shortly after takeoff, the plane struggled to gain altitude. Within seconds, it crashed just a few hundred feet from the runway and burst into flames. Everyone on board died instantly. Aaliyah was killed on impact. The investigation revealed a chain of negligence, an overloaded aircraft, an unqualified pilot, drugs and alcohol. Aaliyah had just finished filming the Matrix sequels. She was transitioning from music to acting, with her biggest years still ahead of her. Her death shocked the world, not because it was mysterious, but because it was completely preventable. A single decision, waiting for another plane, would have saved every life on board.
Elvis Presley was the biggest music star on the planet, but by the summer of 1977, his body was failing him. On August 16, 1977, Elvis was at Graceland, his mansion in Memphis. He had been struggling for years with serious health problems and heavy prescription drug use. That afternoon, Elvis went into his bathroom. Hours passed with no response. Around 2:30 p.m., his girlfriend, Ginger Alden, found him lying face down on the bathroom floor. He was unresponsive. Emergency services were called immediately. Elvis was rushed to Baptist Memorial Hospital. At 3:30 p.m., he was pronounced dead. He was 42 years old. The initial announcement said he died of a heart attack, But the full story was far more disturbing. The autopsy revealed severe damage caused by years of prescription drug abuse. Elvis suffered from chronic constipation so extreme that his colon was nearly twice its normal size. Doctors concluded that the physical strain while using the bathroom triggered a fatal cardiac event. Multiple prescription drugs were found in his system, including opioids and sedatives. His personal physician had prescribed thousands of pills in the months before his death. Elvis wasn't taken out by a single overdose. He was slowly destroyed by years of medical overprescription. The news devastated the world. Tens of thousands of fans gathered outside Graceland within hours. Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, didn't die on stage or in front of cameras. He died alone, behind a locked bathroom door, a global icon brought down by addiction and silence. Whitney Houston was one of the greatest voices music had ever produced. But on February 11, 2012, that voice went silent in a hotel bathroom. Whitney was staying at the Beverly Hilton Hotel in Los Angeles. She was there for Grammy weekend just hours before Clive Davis's pre-Grammy party. That afternoon, Whitney went into her bathroom and filled the bathtub with extremely hot water. She was alone. At some point, she lost consciousness. Her body slipped beneath the surface of the water. Around 3:35 p.m., her assistant found her face down in the bathtub. Emergency services were called immediately. Paramedics attempted resuscitation, but it was too late. Whitney Houston was pronounced dead at the scene. She was 48 years old. The autopsy revealed the cause of death was accidental drowning. Heart disease and drug use were listed as contributing factors. Toxicology reports showed cocaine and prescription medications in her system. The water temperature was so hot it had burned the skin on her back, but she was too impaired to react or pull herself out. What shocked many people came next. That same evening, just hours after Whitney's death, the pre-Grammy party downstairs at the Beverly Hilton went on as planned. Guests drank champagne, music played, speeches were made. Whitney Houston's body had been in the building only hours earlier. The decision sparked backlash, but the party continued. Whitney's death became one of the most tragic examples of how addiction can quietly destroy even the most powerful talent. She didn't die on stage. She didn't die performing. She drowned alone in a bathtub at the height of an industry celebration built on her legacy. Prince was still performing, still creating, still planning his future. And then suddenly, he was gone. On April 21st, 2016, Prince was found unresponsive inside an elevator at Paisley Park, his private estate and recording complex in Minnesota. Emergency services were called at 9:43 a.m. Paramedics arrived minutes later and attempted to revive him. It didn't work. Prince was pronounced dead at 10:07 a.m. He was 57 years old. At first, the news stunned the world. Prince had played concerts just days earlier. There were no public signs that anything was wrong. The investigation revealed the truth. Prince had been suffering from severe chronic pain, especially in his hips. Decades of performing in high heels and intense stage movements had taken their toll. To manage the pain, he had been taking what he believed were Vicodin pills. They weren't. Toxicology reports showed extremely high levels of fentanyl in his system, a synthetic opioid up to 50 times stronger than heroin. The pills Prince had been taking were counterfeit. They were illegally manufactured and laced with fentanyl, but made to look like legitimate prescription medication. Prince didn't know. Investigators later found similar pills hidden throughout Paisley Park, in vitamin bottles, drawers, and personal containers. He had unknowingly been consuming a lethal substance. Prince died from an accidental overdose. There was no suicide note, no warning, no dramatic final act. His death exposed a growing crisis, the deadly spread of counterfeit prescription pills. Prince became one of the most high-profile victims of an epidemic that would only worsen in the years that followed. Avicii was one of the most successful electronic music artists of his generation. Global hits, sold-out festivals, a career that exploded faster than anyone could control. But behind the scenes, his body was failing. For years, Avicii had been struggling with severe health issues: chronic pancreatitis, extreme exhaustion, constant pain. The pressure of touring was relentless. Hundreds of shows, little rest, endless expectations. In 2016, he shocked fans by announcing he was retiring from touring. He said his body simply couldn't take it anymore. Even after stepping away from the stage, the struggles didn't stop. On April 20th, 2018, Avicii was found dead in Muscat, Oman, where he had been staying on vacation. He was 28 years old. There was no accident, no overdose. Investigators later confirmed that Avicii had taken his own life. In the months leading up to his death, those close to him noticed a deep inner conflict. He was searching for peace, meaning, and balance after years of pushing himself beyond human limits. Following his death, his family released a statement describing a sensitive perfectionist artist who struggled with the pressure of fame and expectations. Avicii's death forced the music industry to confront something uncomfortable. Behind the lights, the crowds, and the numbers, many artists are breaking under the weight of success. His passing became a symbol of the mental health crisis in the music world. On October 16, 2024, Liam Payne was pronounced dead in Buenos Aires. He was 31 years old. At the time, the former One Direction member was staying at the Casa Sur Palermo Hotel in Argentina, where he had traveled to attend a concert by his former bandmate, Neil Horan. What was supposed to be a low-key stay quickly turned into a serious emergency. Earlier that afternoon, hotel staff became increasingly alarmed by Payne's behavior inside his third-floor room. Witnesses reported erratic actions, signs of heavy intoxication, and visible destruction of hotel property. Around 5 p.m., the hotel manager placed an urgent call to emergency services. In the recorded 911 call, he warned that a guest appeared overwhelmed by drugs and alcohol and was aggressively damaging the room. He specifically emphasized one concern: the room had a balcony. Just minutes later, at approximately 5:07 p.m., a loud crash echoed through the hotel's interior courtyard. Liam Payne had fallen from his balcony. Emergency responders arrived within minutes, but there was nothing they could do. Payne had suffered multiple traumatic injuries from the fall and was pronounced dead at the scene. When police entered his hotel room, they found clear signs of a violent episode. The television had been smashed. Aluminum foil, white powder, and drug paraphernalia were scattered throughout the room. Investigators later confirmed that Payne had been alone in the room at the time of the fall. Toxicology reports revealed the presence of multiple substances in his system. Authorities concluded that there was no evidence of third-party involvement, but the exact sequence of events leading to the fall remained under investigation. The news sent shockwaves through the music world. One Direction had defined an entire generation of pop music, and Payne had remained a global figure long after the group's hiatus. Liam Payne's death quickly became one of the most discussed celebrity tragedies in recent years. Beyond the loss itself, it raised renewed questions about substance abuse, mental health, and the pressures faced by artists who grow up under extreme public scrutiny. For millions of fans, the fall from that hotel balcony marked not just the end of a life, but the abrupt collapse of a story that once seemed unstoppable. Amy Winehouse wasn't just a pop star. She was a voice that felt raw, broken, and timeless all at once. By her early 20s, she was already a global phenomenon. Back to Black made her one of the most recognizable artists in the world. But fame magnified everything she was already struggling with. For years, Amy battled addiction, intense media pressure, and a fragile mental state. Every relapse became public spectacle. Every appearance was scrutinized. In the months before her death, something strange happened. She stopped using substances. Friends later said she was trying to get clean again, but her body had been pushed too far for too long. On July 23, 2011, Amy Winehouse was found dead in her home in Camden, London. She was 27 years old. The autopsy revealed a fatal case of alcohol poisoning. After a long period of abstinence, her body could no longer handle the amount she consumed. There was no struggle, no chaos, just a sudden collapse. Her death placed her among the infamous 27 Club, a list of legendary musicians who died at the same age. But Amy's story wasn't about a number. It was about a system that watched a young artist fall apart in real time and turned it into entertainment. After her death, her family created the Amy Winehouse Foundation to help young people dealing with addiction and mental health struggles. Amy Winehouse didn't die at the height of her fame. She died exhausted, fragile, and alone. And the world realized too late that talent doesn't protect you from destruction. Juice WRLD rose faster than almost anyone in modern music. His songs were emotional, vulnerable, and brutally honest, especially about addiction and anxiety. Behind the success, his lifestyle was spiraling. By 2019, Juice WRLD was traveling constantly, surrounded by an entourage, security, and pressure. He was also heavily dependent on prescription substances, something he openly referenced in his music. On December 8, 2019, Juice WRLD was flying from California to Chicago on a private jet. Unbeknownst to him, federal agents were waiting for the plane to land. Authorities had received a tip that the jet was carrying illegal substances and firearms. When the plane touched down at Midway Airport, agents moved in. Witnesses later said Juice WRLD became extremely anxious. Shortly after landing, he began to convulse. He collapsed inside the airport terminal. Emergency responders rushed him to a nearby hospital, but it was too late. Juice WRLD was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. He was just 21 years old. The medical examiner later ruled the cause of death as toxicity from multiple substances. Investigators believed he may have ingested a large amount in a panic, fearing legal consequences. Whether it was intentional or not, the result was fatal. The search of the jet revealed drugs, weapons, and cash, but no charges would ever matter now. Juice WRLD's death shocked a generation of fans. After his death, his albums continued to top the charts. Songs written in Payne became memorials, and his story became one of the clearest examples of how success, addiction, and fear can collide in a single moment. This may be the most unexpected death in this entire video. No drugs, no violence, no chaos, just a moment that went terribly wrong. SOPHIE was one of the most innovative figures in modern music. A producer, artist, and visionary who reshaped pop and electronic sounds between 2010 and 2020. On January 30th, 2021, SOPHIE was in Athens, Greece. That night, she went up to the rooftop of her apartment building. She had brought a camera with her. Her goal was simple. She wanted to photograph the full moon. As she moved across the roof in the dark, she lost her footing. She fell from the building, dropping several stories to the ground below. Emergency services arrived quickly. She was taken to the hospital, but the injuries were too severe. SOPHIE died from trauma caused by the fall. She was 34 years old. There was no suspicion of foul play, no substances involved, no reckless behavior, just a tragic accident. The news stunned the music world. Artists across genres paid tribute, calling her a genius, a pioneer, and a kind soul. SOPHIE wasn't chasing danger. She wasn't escaping anything. She was simply trying to capture something beautiful. And in a single, unplanned moment, everything stopped. Her death is a reminder that sometimes the most devastating endings don't come from excess or chaos, but from pure chance. These were some of the most shocking and tragic deaths in music history. Which of these deaths shocked you the most? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and boost the video so more people can discover these stories. Thanks for watching.